So I think it's a good thing, personally, I think it's a good thing we're starting with social studies. I'm really excited this year because some of you might know this, but before I came to Span Oaks, I taught 10th grade AP World History in Madison. AP World History typically revolves a lot around Europe, and so most of what I had taught didn't apply to last year, and I'm really excited this year to get to share what I did usually teach with the kids. We're going to focus on the Eastern Hemisphere, parts of Africa, Asia, Europe. There's a ton to deal with. We're going to have a lot more to go with. And I think the biggest bonus is if any of you need to be pushed a little bit more, I have 10th grade material waiting right here. The other thing that I'm going to do is I also want to start prepping kids for the AP test. And so which they potentially might take down the road in high school. And so I'm going to be teaching them a little bit about the Persia method of learning, meaning that they look at everything from a political, social, artistic, economic, and intellectual standpoint. And they'll be sending a lot of that home with you eventually. But I'm really excited. Last year was one of my favorite years teaching. We have an awesome class, and I'm really excited to be back. We are going to hit the ground running, so be ready. So thank you.
I feel so underdressed. I wasn't going to say anything. Thank you all very much for coming. Again, I'm Greg Pent, and I'm going to be teaching science this year. We do life science. We're going to be doing a bunch of different things in class. There's going to be opportunities to work in groups that you pick, that other people pick, that I pick. You're going to be able to work alone. There's going to be a lot of different stuff. In life science, we're going to start off learning a little bit of classification stuff. We're going to probably do some sort of collection. We're going to learn about kingdoms, we're going to learn about diseases, what causes diseases, how to prevent them, how we recover from them, stuff like this. There's a big genetics unit that we're going to learn about. We're going to find out why we look the way that we look and why we do some of the things that we do. We're going to end the year with a pre-med class for the fourth quarter. It's a 7th grade version of med school. And we're going to learn everything about the human body, what it looks like, how it works, and stuff like this. It is entirely possible that we may end the year doing some sort of dissection. But we'll just see kind of how that goes.
Language arts, again, the three of us will be, thank you. My height was bothering her. And as I said earlier, Ms. Pingle will be in charge of the writing portion, and I will be in charge of the reading, and Ms. Tremaine will be working with both of us. So even if your schedule says Mrs. Schwen or Ms. Pingle, in reality you will have both of us, and you will have us every other day. These are some of the things as far as resources. You should be familiar with the 6+1 traits. However, we are switching gears, incorporating that along with the Lucy Calkins writing program, Smartboard interactive lessons, and this year we are focusing on the Common Core standards, and that will be in all core classes.
Perfect. Yay.
Okay, we are 3 of the math teachers, and there are actually more math teachers. You're considering everyone in the building as math teachers because at any one point, depending on your child's needs, they may have a different teacher for whatever area they are at. So we are including a collaborative piece, which every class period we will start with a heterogeneous group of students working on some meaty problem that they're going to really have to dig in and get their hands on and work together in order to solve that. Standards-based, then after that they'll go into their own, wherever they are in terms of their math ability, they will be working on standards at their level. It's personalized, meaning that the one word, that flexible there, that students can be changing from room to room depending on their needs. And that's the one beauty of personalized learning, is that we're going to make sure your child is being challenged at their level. So the grouping that they start with doesn't necessarily mean that's the group that they're going to end with this year. So, and then tracking this year, we are thankful that Power School now is able to track the standards that your child is on and the progress they are making, so you won't have to go multiple places to find that. When you log in, yeah, we are thrilled to death. It'll all be there for you, so. We are really into, so it'll list an assignment, it'll list the standard, you can click on it, you can see 4, 3, 2, 1, how your child is doing, and that's also how the report cards will pan out.
The other side of that is about the major math strands. One of the things you need to know about Common Core is that within the middle school math concepts, in the 7th grade specifically, there's a number of strands that don't occur anywhere else. So even if you believe your child is ready for algebra or ready to be pushed on, if they don't ever see these strands specifically in statistics, probability, and geometry, they would actually miss content and never get it again, and they would actually have a huge gap in their learning. So it's very important that no matter where they are in their learning, that we're going to make sure that we really hit those pieces with them so that they understand that. Because it doesn't show up anywhere else, even in any pre-algebra or any other pieces. So you gotta be aware of that. And the last line there says NSEE and RNP, those are the other 3 stands in number sense, expressions and equations and ratios and proportions. Those are the big strands for 7th grade. But like we said, in the flexible piece, we could be stretching those going in any direction. If we're not there yet, we'll be making sure that we bring them up to that spot, or we might be pushing them all beyond. And one thing that you'll hear all of us say, Ms. Damro, Ms. Aspel, myself, it could be Ms. Frederickson, it could be Mr. Wolf, it doesn't matter who the math teacher is that the students this year will have math practice. And in your mind, you might think of that old school as homework, but it's practice. They have a certain amount of practice they have to do. If your student is efficient, they may finish their practice at school. If they do not finish their practice at school, practice goes home, and then they will work on it at home. Okay, so just to keep that in mind as you're thinking about those things. Okay.
Oh, okay. PLPs, well, we spent a lot of time last year working on PLPs, the development of them, and then tracking them throughout the year. Well, this year will be the same. Students will look back at their 6th grade PLPs. They will look at, what do I want to change? What doesn't apply to me anymore? What do I want to add? And we'll be looking at that at the beginning of the year. We'll be putting in scores that we've had at the end of last year. The other thing is that we will not change, their 6th grade PLP will stay as is, and we'll link it to their 7th grade PLP, so that as you go through 6th, 7th, 8th grade in high school, you can see the growth that your child has made in terms of their questions. Up here in blue, let me just comment. If you've been to our website, there's a section on there that asks for parent input about your child and about wishes that you have for your child throughout the year. Some of you have already filled out that survey. There's 5 computers set up in the LMC that are already set up with the Badger 7 website. If you want to do that today before you leave, we would like them preferably by the end of the first week of school, because we do really value your input.
Computing. I know that last year as 6th graders, you were the first to pilot some one-on-one computing. And one of the things that will be put in place that's a little bit different for all of the students this year is that they will be asked to get a driver's license, a digital driver's license first, before they're going to be allowed to compute. And so they're going to be going on and taking some classes and finding out, digging in a little bit more to our acceptable use policy, AUP. You may have clicked on that really fast on the registration, but we're going to be digging into that. And they'll also be finding out what happens if they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing on the computers. Okay, and that's what this infraction is. And that'll be the same, the infractions will be the same everywhere in the building. Doesn't matter which teacher you would be working with, that would be the same. So they will be in the first days with Mr. Pent and Mr. Weibel. They'll be getting their digital driver's license right away. Okay, it's telling us that they understand all those pieces. Another piece of this is the communication. You can expect to see newsletters from us. We talked a little bit about the Power School. Power School will probably will inform you a little bit more this year than maybe last. You can expect emails, phone calls, etc. from us. And if you haven't had a chance to go on to the Badger 7 website, would be your starting place for information. We'll be keeping this up to date. So there it is, and we have locations for all of the content area as well as the family input. That's where you would go to add your bits of information about that.
I'll be in room 209. I'm down the 8th period of the math wing, so if you want to stop down and visit and ask questions.
Thanks, Mr. Wolf. Habits of learning.
I'm going to talk for a moment about habits of learning. Each student is going to get a grade on habits of learning at the end of each quarter. The grade that they'll be receiving will be an A, a B, a C, a D, or an F. Now the things that we're going to be looking for as teachers to try to help your students with their habits of learning, we want them to participate in class. We have a lot of students that are really bright, really quiet. Participating in class is something that we're really going to encourage. Positive members of the learning community, helping each other out, making good comments, asking questions of other students, and helping other students be as good of a student as they can be. Being organized and prepared for class. Each of your students' classes is going to have certain things that are going to be required each day. Bring those things. We won't trip you guys. We're not going to trip anybody up. There's going to be certain expectations. We're going to be just fine. Be to class on time. We all are aware of all of that. Turning work in on time. There's going to be a bunch of different ways that we're going to be turning work in this year. There's going to be paperwork. There's going to be some electronic sort of stuff. We'll see how that will all work out. But these are going to be things that we're going to all work on as teachers and as students. Using planners for organization method effectively. We're not going to have a paper planner for every student this year. There's going to be a couple of different ways that we're going to offer for students to try to keep organized. Maybe a paper planner is the best way for your student. We'll help out there. Maybe electronically will be the way to go. Or maybe some sort of combination in between. But we'll address each of our students' needs to help them best stay organized.
If you want to see a very detailed version of this, I know a lot of you asked for this last year. It is on our website, so you can see it like really fleshed out on the website if you want to know how that's being graded.
I know one thing too for me for habits of learning, as a teacher, I kind of think of it as employability. That really helped me make the connection with the students. So this is your job. Are you a worthwhile employee while you're here? And that, when I explained it to students that way last year, I think that was a really helpful connection. So.
Okay, some important dates.
On September 9th, starting at 4:30 in our LMC over here, there's going to be an opportunity for parents to come in and learn about the standards-based grading that we're going to be doing this year. We'll go into a ton of details at that time, and we'll be able to give you examples. We'll show you everything, how it's going to all work. We're not going to have the opportunity to do that tonight, but we have set up a night on September 9th to try to do that.
Okay, September 23rd, we are having our first field trip of the year, American Players Theater, and you should have all received a permission slip. If you have those tonight, which I know several of you do, you can turn those in to me, and I will give them to your extra core teacher. If you did not get a permission slip, we have, or if you misplaced it, we have versions in English and Spanish up here. And also, we are in the need of chaperones. So if you would be interested in chaperoning the field trip, we're seeing the play Much Ado About Nothing. And I forgot to mention this earlier with language arts. The first unit in my language arts section will be Shakespeare. So we'll be shaking it up with Shakespeare. And I know some of you think, oh, not him. Or some of you may not know who Shakespeare is. But we will actually be reading through the play and seeing a version of the play before we actually go to American Players Theater. So again, if you would like to chaperone, the cost is $19. You will need to bring a bag lunch, and typically what we do is we put you with your child's group. Now, if your child would prefer that you weren't with their group, because I know, 7th grade, just let us know and we will put you in a different group. But we do need up to 20 chaperones, so we really hope that we will get some response tonight. So again, that will be up here if you are interested.